Hello everyone. This is going to be a quite different video. It's going to be more of an audio version. I'm going to read a true story about a family member in 1981. And it's not really a mystery, but a murder case. And like I said, it is a true story of a relative of mine. And the story is called The Deadly Nightcap, and it's from the book Murder in the Heartland, Book 4 by Harry Spiller. And those that do not know anything about Harry Spiller, he is an author and retired police officer. I would say investigations department and homicides, something like that, because this is his kind of the story of his cases that he has written in these books. And these are not very long stories, but this one I'm going to do tonight. We're going to see if you guys enjoy this. If you do, let me know in the comment section. Throw a thumbs up or something to let me know that this is something you guys are interested in and want more of. Like I said, this story is true, and it is called The Deadly Nightcap. The story is about a woman named Sherry Byerly. That was her married name. It was, her maiden name was Jackson. And this happened on September 19th, 1981 in Marion, Illinois. Okay, here we go. No, man, I'm tired. I'm going home, the friend muttered as he looked at his watch. It's 2:30 in the morning already. Byerly reached over and turned the car off. Come on, man. One more beer won't hurt you. The two men exited the vehicle and walked up to the mobile home. As they stepped inside, Byerly called for his wife. Sherry! Sherry! Where are you? He walked to the back of the trailer while the friend waited in the living room. My God, Sherry, what's wrong? What has happened to you? He yelled. He ran to the living room. Something is wrong with Sherry. She won't wake up. What shall we do? As the friend started out the door, a neighbor pulled the front door of the mobile home open and said, You need an ambulance? Yes, there's something wrong with Sherry. I'll call, he said, turning and running for his home. The ambulance scurried down the dark streets of Marion, Illinois, to the trailer court. It was now 3 a.m., September 19th, 1981. The ambulance attendant rushed into the bedroom and at one glance knew the girl was dead. He knelt down by the partly nude body and saw a large amount of blood on the back of her head, neck, and shoulders. He returned to the ambulance and called the Marion Police Department. Marion Sergeant Jack West arrived at the scene and went into the bedroom. He scanned the room, noticing the blood on the body, the sheets on the bed, and the carpet at the foot of the bed. Did you look at the injury? He asked the ambulance attendant. Yes, but I didn't touch the body. I think she's been shot. Sergeant West scurried for the radio and called for the detectives, then guarded the crime scene until their arrival. Detective Les Snyder arrived and proceeded to the master bedroom at the back of the trailer. The girl was lying on her back on the floor at the end of the bed. She was dressed in a plaid maternity top, a white bra, and underpants. She was barefooted. Her head was lying in a large puddle of blood. Detective Snyder wasn't sure what he had, but he wasn't going to take any chances. He would treat the investigation as a murder until evidence proved otherwise. Snyder called the Illinois Department of Law Enforcement and asked for a crime scene technician. The technician arrived around 4:15 a.m. and met with the detectives. He photographed the scene, began to collect and package and mark all the physical evidence. He collected hair from the floor, the victim's left hand, hair from the floor beneath the victim's right hand, cigarette butts from the ashtray, brown slacks from the bed, a gold-colored bedspread, a blue roller skate case against the east wall in the bedroom. There was a red spot in the sink in the bedroom also. 2 latent prints from the west closet door and 2 latent prints from the wall trim of the northeast portion of the bedroom, and possible blood from the kitty litter box in the bedroom. The technician then requested that the body be moved to the local hospital for an autopsy. Meanwhile, the detectives began an interrogation of the victim's husband. Detectives read Clyde Byerly his Miranda rights and provided a waiver of rights form. He read the information, signed the waiver, to talk with them about his wife's death. Byerly told the police that a friend picked him up and his wife at about 9 a.m. on September 18th and took them to a friend's home in Creole Springs. The husband worked on a friend's car and then on his own car until about 6:30 p.m. At that time, he and Sherry left the home in his 1964 Plymouth Valiant. The car had broke down at the intersection of Old Route 13 and New Route 13. They both began to walk toward Marion when a woman in her 40s picked them up and drove them to the square in Marion. The couple walked to a friend's house, but the friend was not at home. A local bar was nearby, and Clyde decided he wanted a beer. They went into the bar, and he had a beer. Sherry drank 1 vodka Collins. Her dad picked her up, and then a short time later, he took her home. Clyde told the police that he stayed at the bar until about 8 p.m., when a friend took him to another bar. He said that he stayed at that bar until closing time and then went to the truck stop. Clyde then drank a couple of cups of coffee, asked a friend if he would give him a ride home. At about 2:30 a.m., they pulled into the driveway. When they went into the trailer, he noticed that the door was unlocked and all the lights were on. He said that he yelled for Sherry, but she didn't answer. So he walked to the back of the trailer. Sherry was lying on the floor at the foot of the bed. Clyde kicked her leg and shook her. When he looked at her face, he saw that it was purple. He yelled for his friend, and the police asked, what was she wearing? She just had on underpants and maybe a blouse. Damn, my head is so screwed up. You've been through a lot, Clyde. We understand, the police said. Clyde sat quietly for a moment, then continued with his story. He and his friend had gone to a neighbor's house and then asked him to call an ambulance. He called some people but couldn't remember who. He said, I do remember grabbing Sherry and hugging her. She was very cold. The husband explained that he did not have a gun but had owned a 9-shot 22 caliber pistol at one time, and he had sold it for $30. Clyde told detectives that he did not kill his wife, but he had hit her in the past. She fought like a man, but we were getting along fine. She was 3 months pregnant. I don't know why anyone would want to kill her, but I did run a guy off a few days ago that had been staying with us. His name is Jack. He lives near Cobden. I don't know any reason why he would have killed her. Was she stabbed? No, she was shot in the back of the head. But I don't own a gun. How much have you had to drink? About 12 beers, Clyde said. The interview ended. Clyde had smoked an entire pack of cigarettes during the questioning. The detective took the ashtray and dumped it, then requested that Clyde sign a consent to search form for the Plymouth Valiant that was stalled at the intersection of New and Old Route 13. Detective Snyder made arrangements for the husband to receive clean clothes, then took into custody the clothes that Byerly was wearing. The result of the autopsy confirmed that the victim was 3 months pregnant and that the cause of her death was a gunshot wound to the back of the head. There were penetration of the brain and intracranial hemorrhage. The crime scene technician who was present at the autopsy collected for evidence a lead slug, samples of blood for toxicological study, pink and white maternity top, a hair standard from the victim's head, an ink fingerprint of the victim. He then went to the Marion Police Department and took sealed bags containing the clothes of Clyde Byerly All of the evidence collected was then submitted to the Illinois Department of Law Enforcement Crime Lab in Springfield, Illinois. The probe continued with an interview of a friend of the Byerlys. The friend said that on September 18th, Clyde, accompanied by a male woman who he did not know, came to a friend's residence. Clyde was driving a gold-colored Grand Prix belonging to an acquaintance. According to the friend, Byerly wanted to go to a local bar, but told him that he first wanted to stop by home and pick up some money. They drove to Clyde's mobile home, and he and Clyde went inside. The friend said he waited in the kitchen while Clyde went to the rear of the mobile home and returned shortly thereafter with a .38 caliber Colt pistol placed inside a leather brown case. The friend said he looked at the gun and gave it back to Clyde. Clyde then took the gun back to the back of the mobile home and returned. Byerly told his friends that he had more guns, a .44 Magnum and two 9mm pistols. The friend said that they then got back in the car and went to a local lounge. While they were in the lounge, Byerly told his friend that the gun he had shown him was hot and not to tell anyone. They drank a couple of beers. Clyde picked up a girl and they left the bar. They drove to a liquor store, bought a 6-pack of beer, and consumed it. Then Clyde told him that he wanted his friend to take him to his mobile home, but if there was a blue truck there, to not stop. They arrived at the home about 11 p.m. Clyde went inside and his friend waited in the car. The friend said that he heard what sounded like a door slamming, and he saw Byerly run out of the door and around the back of the mobile home. About 10 minutes passed, and Byerly came back around the mobile home and stood at the corner with his head cupped in his hands. The friend ran to Clyde. Clyde was crying and said, "I think I've killed my wife. I shook her and I can't wake her up. She's done this to me before. What should I do?" "We need to call the ambulance and the police. We better not leave." "No, take me to my sister's." They got into the car, and as they left, Byerly started laughing and said, "I'm just kidding. I didn't do anything." She ran out the back door and ran to her dad's. We went to a local bar, and Clyde laughed all the way. At about 1 a.m., the friend left the bar, and Clyde was still there with some friends. Detectives were on to something. Either Clyde or his friend were lying. Police suspected it was Byerly. They continued the interview with yet another friend of the Byerlys. He said that he picked the Byerlys up around 8 on September 18 and took them to his home in Creole Springs. Byerly was to work on his friend's car. At about 6 p.m., the couple left in Byerly's car. The friend cleaned up and went to Marion to a local lounge. He met Sherry, who informed him that their car had broken down. He gave her 20 cents to call her dad, and while she called, he bought Clyde a beer. When Sherry's dad arrived to pick her up, she told Clyde to stay with the friend because her dad did not like Clyde. She left, and the friend met a girl. He and the girl left the bar and went to Heron, Illinois, where they stayed at a local bar until closing. He said he did not know where Clyde went. At 2 a.m., he was at the truck stop when Clyde and a friend of Clyde's came running into the restaurant real excited. They said that something had happened to Sherry. She was on the floor of the bedroom and wouldn't get up. The friend went to the mobile home to check on her, thinking that she had overdosed. He went into the bedroom and saw that Sherry was dead. Clyde came in and started hugging her, and that is when the friend saw the blood. He said that Clyde was very excited and told him, "Help me get the guy that killed her. He didn't have to kill her. He didn't have to kill her." The friend tried to calm Clyde down and took him outside. "Did he own any guns that you know of?" police asked. The friend told police about 2 weeks ago Byerly came to their friend's residence and showed him an old .38 caliber long-barreled police special. The friend tried to buy the gun from Clyde just to get it away from him. He said the gun was in poor condition and that the bullets were old and corroded. He said that he could identify the gun if he saw it again. Police brought Clyde Byerly back for interrogation. The detectives asked the husband if he would explain his activities for them once again. They wanted to make sure that they were accurate when they made out their reports. Hold on, I lost my spot. Clyde told the police the same story he had earlier, claiming that he had not returned to his mobile home except when he found Sherry in the early morning hours. However, he did change his story somewhat. He told the police that he met 2 friends, borrowed a friend's car, and drove around for a while, although he never went home. He did go to a liquor store and bought a 6-pack which he and the two friends drank while they were driving around. Then they returned to the bar. He told the police that he owned a gun a long time ago, but no longer had it. Detectives suspected Byerly killed his wife, but they were not ready yet to catch him in his lie. They wanted to gather more information. The probe continued with questioning of an acquaintance of Byerly. The acquaintance said that he got off work at around 5 p.m. and went to a local bar. At 7:30 p.m., Clyde came into the bar and told the acquaintance that his car broke down. He offered to take Byerly wherever he wanted to go. Byerly said he was in no hurry and that he never asked him for a ride. According to the acquaintance, Byerly left the bar about an hour later. He then left the bar and went to another bar where he encountered Clyde once again. Clyde asked him if he could borrow his car for about 30 minutes to go and pick up a friend. Byerly left alone. The acquaintance said that Clyde wasn't gone for very long, maybe 30 minutes. When Clyde returned, his friend was with him and they had a few drinks and played pool. At 11 p.m., Clyde came over and asked if he could borrow the car again. He wanted to go home and get some money. He and his friend left the bar together and returned about 11:50. Once again, he drank a few beers and played pool. At last call, the acquaintance went over to Clyde's table. As they were finishing their beer, the acquaintance asked Clyde where he'd gone the second time. He said that he had gone home and that he and his wife had gotten into a fight. She had run out the back door and gone to her dad's. He said that if Byerly did kill his wife, he was cold about it because he was clowning around. Byerly told the acquaintance that he was getting a divorce. When the acquaintance left the bar, Clyde was still in the lounge drinking. The canvass continued with a statement of another friend who said that Byerly picked him and his girlfriend up in the front of a local convenience store around 9 p.m. He then went to a friend's trailer, picked the friend up, and drove to his home. Byerly went inside for 5 minutes and returned to the car. He drove off, and his friend said that Byerly was wanting to buy a small handgun. Clyde said that he had something to show him and went back to the mobile home. Clyde and the friend went into the house and stayed for about 15 minutes. As Byerly was driving back to the bar, he told the friend that he also had a 9mm pistol and a .44 Magnum. He told the police that he knew that Byerly used to carry a small .38 caliber pistol on his person. Finally, he said that they all returned to the bar about 10 p.m., which was the last time that he saw Clyde. Another friend said that he arrived at the local hangout around 12:30 on September 19th. He talked with several friends he knew, then spotted Byerly sitting at a table talking with a girl. He didn't know who the girl was, but he went over to the table and sat with them. Clyde wanted the friend to drive him home. They left the bar at approximately 1 a.m. and went to a local truck stop. They went inside, drank coffee, and ate. Clyde was trying to push the girl off on him. She got tired of it and went to sit with some other people she knew. "Do you know if Byerly owns guns?" Snyder asked. "Yes, he does. He had a .38 caliber revolver at a friend in Creel Springs about 3 weeks ago. We both shot the gun." Continuing, the friend said that he and Clyde left the truck stop about 2 a.m. He drove Clyde to the trailer, and Clyde insisted on him coming into the house. When they got to the storm door, he noticed that it was unlocked. The inside door was unlocked also, but lights were on and music was playing. The friend stood at the door, and Clyde told him to come on in. It was not going to hurt anything. Byerly started yelling for his wife. He yelled, "Sherry." He told the friend he did not know where she was. He went to the back bedroom. The light was on. "Oh, God, what have you done?" he screamed. Then he yelled, "Come and help me." The friend went to the bedroom and saw that Sherry was lying at the foot of the bed. She looked like she had purple spots on her face. Clyde wanted to know what they should do. The friend said they should all call an ambulance and the police. As they started out the door, they were met by the neighbor, who scurried home and called both emergency services. Clyde was very agitated, and friends had to settle him down. They got him to stay outside until the police arrived. A canvass of the neighborhood revealed 2 separate neighbors that within the last 3 days they had visited Clyde at his mobile home, and he had showed and tried to sell them the .38 caliber pistol. Neither of them wanted the gun because it was old and poor condition. The police knew they had enough information to establish that Clyde Byerly had lied to them about having a gun and about returning home at 2 a.m. He had been held for over 8 hours, and the police had not charged him with anything yet. So Detective Snyder was worried that they could run into a legal problem if they didn't make a move. They checked with Sheriff Kobler, who informed the detectives that they had been watching Byerly. He was very nervous and had not eaten anything while at the sheriff's office. They decided to make their move. So Sheriff Kobler brought Clyde Byerly into the office. He and Detective Les Snyder began the interrogation. Clyde was jittery, smoking one cigarette after another. The police asked him to sit down and read him his Miranda rights. He said, "Do you understand your rights?" "Yes." "Yes," as the suspect began to shake uncontrollably. "Clyde, you're under a lot of pressure. You know me, and you know that I'm not going to hurt you. Do you want to talk to me about it?" Byerly broke down and began sobbing in his eyes and saying, "I didn't mean to kill her. I didn't mean to kill her." "Calm down, Clyde. Tell us what happened." "I didn't mean to kill her. Will you give us a written statement?" the detectives asked. "Other officers are at the scene looking for the murder weapon. Did you take it with you when you went out back?" "Yes, I did. I can't tell you exactly where it is. It was dark. I can show you, though. We want to get a written statement first, then we will go out to the scene." The suspect told police that he was with his wife at a bar. Sherry's dad had picked her up, and Clyde stayed at the bar. He drank 3 beers, then went to another bar, where he drank 1 beer, and then went to another bar and had 3 more beers. He then borrowed his friend's car, picked up 3 friends, and then went to a liquor store and bought a 6-pack of beer. Then went to Byerly's residence. He and another friend went into the house to look at a gun. He showed the friend the .38 caliber revolver. He wanted to see if his friend wanted to buy the gun. He put the gun back in the bedroom, got $5, and then left. At approximately 9 p.m., Sherry was not at home at the time. They went back to the bar, and the suspects drank more beer. One of the friends went back to the trailer with him. It was about 10 p.m. He stayed in the car while Byerly went inside. Sherry was home, and they got into a fight over his drinking. The suspect got his gun and stuck it in his belt. He told Sherry that he was going to leave and went to the closet to get his clothes. Sherry walked over and pulled the gun from the suspect's belt and started walking out of the room. The suspect walked over, reached over her shoulder, grabbed the gun, and pulled it back over her shoulder. The gun went off, and Sherry fell backwards. The suspect panicked and ran out the back door, turned to the right behind his trailer, and hid the gun and holster under a neighbor's mobile home. He went back into the house and saw that Sherry was dead. He went back out to the car, and they all went back to the bar. Later that night, he went to the truck stop. He had asked a friend to take him home. When he got there, he acted like he had just found his wife for the first time. We then went to a neighbor's house and asked him to call the police. After the confession, Byerly took detectives to the neighbor's mobile home where he had hidden a gun. Police watched while Clyde crawled under the mobile home and returned with a .38 caliber Colt revolver, serial number 148949. The handgun had 1 live cartridge. The gun was in a brown leather holster. Police took the gun into custody and submitted it to the crime laboratory for analysis. On November 18th, police received the analytical findings of the evidence. The murder weapon was found to be in good operating condition. The discharge cartridge case submitted was fired from the murder weapon. The spent projectile taken from the skull of the victim was fired from that murder weapon. After chemical examination, the pink smock revealed the presence of a lead smoke pattern on the left back shoulder area consistent with the murder weapon. The head hair found in the victim's hand was not consistent with the victim's head, and the head hair found underneath the victim was not consistent with the victim's head hair. Clyde Byerly was charged with the murder of his wife on September 19th. In July of 1982, the suspect stood trial in First Circuit Court in Williamson County, Illinois. The 12-person jury found him guilty of murder. He was sentenced by Judge Donald Lowry to 20 to 40 years in prison. His response to the judge was, "I will always love my wife, and I will never touch a drop of liquor again." He is now serving a sentence in Menard State Prison in Chester, Illinois. Okay. I do want to point out that there's some major changes since the story was told. Clyde Byerly served his sentence, and it was probably maybe up to 5 years after his release, he passed away. And it's kind of hard because I still feel like he owes his debt, even though in the justice system world and really street world, he's paid his debt. And as far as I'm aware of, he never remarried. Granted, he was locked up, but that doesn't stop men from being married while they're in prison. So, I don't know. I know that whenever this happened, I was a child, and to get the news that I would never see her again was devastating, and it marked my whole life. It marked how I think of death, how I think of other people, mistrusting other people. I don't know. It weighed heavy, and I just felt like that her story really, really, really needed to be told digitally too. It may be in a book, and I will cherish this book forever, but things happen, and I wanted to get her story out. And that isn't just her story. Her death is not just her story. Sherry was an amazing cousin. She was so amazing. And it's hard to believe that she would be taken and snuffed out in such a cruel manner. So cruel. And the fact that she was pregnant makes it all the more devastating. Which granted 3 months, that no matter if they worked day and night, the doctors were not going to save the baby. They would have needed her more at that trimester than anything in the world. So, and I believe that she was, it didn't say it in here, but she was pregnant with twins. So we lost 3 that day. And it's really heartbreaking to know that this man that had been in our home, and actually their wedding ceremony was in our home, to know that he did that to her, my whole outlook was shaped that very day. That very day. But that's enough of my commentary also. If you guys do like this, you can always find Harry Spiller on Facebook. The book is called Murder in the Heartland. I am from the Midwest, so a lot of his stories will come from this area. You know, murder doesn't happen in just your big cities. It can happen in small towns and little villages and, you know, all that. So you got to understand that we got a problem here. We got a problem. But if you like these kinds of stories, just go ahead and hit that thumbs up and let me know, and I'll let you have a great day. Thank you.